Heat rising off the streets like the breath of something rotten. Country divided, pretending it is not. People laughing at their phones, scrolling memes while the walls close in. All while daytime TV tells them bedtime stories for grown-ups. That is what brought me here. Daytime television. Smiling assassins in designer shoes.
There is zero statistical significance.
Okay, because nobody can figure out what's being said here right now. No, there is no last thing right now. We're going to go to break.
The View, ABC, and their porcelain doll of progressive comfort. Faces powdered, words sharpened. They call it a talk show. It sips a sermon with coffee breaks. Millions of eyes tune in. Housewives, retired teachers, students pretending homework doesn't matter, looking for answers, but mostly looking for permission to stay asleep. Hosts tell them how to feel. Audience claps like trained seals. This is not news, it is a storefront window, selling empowerment like costume jewelry, shiny, cheap, turns your skin green if you wear it too long. They say they are diverse. Translation: 5 liberals, 1 Republican, who apologizes before she speaks. They say we want balance, balance like a chair with 3 legs. Fact-checking: optional, convenient, about as reliable as a politician handshake. If truth gets in the way of the narrative, truth gets thrown out like expired milk. Not saying they are evil. Evil is busy elsewhere, wearing sharper suits. These ones, they are salesmen in cardigans, selling belief like knockoff handbags at a Sunday market. Looks good from across the street, falls apart in the rain. They do not sell truth. They sell relief, comfort for people too tired to wrestle with reality. Fast food for thought. Tastes good going down, poison later. Who exactly are they? Start with her, the queen bee. Whoopi Goldberg, moderator. Name used to mean something. Oscars. Stage. Serious weight. Used to speak truth to power. Now she just speaks. Been on The View since 2007. Nearly 2 decades sitting in that chair like a gargoyle in a cathedral, watching the city rot, smiling like she is above it. Cashing Disney checks like clockwork. Wraps every argument in that fake philosopher tone. Well, I just think as if thinking makes it true. Easy answers over hard truths.
Let's be truthful about it, because the Holocaust isn't about race. It's about man's inhumanity to man. I feel, being black, when we talk about race, it's a very different thing to me. Mm-hmm. So I said that I felt that the Holocaust wasn't about race, but I thought it was a salient discussion because as a black person, I think of race as being something that I can see.
She says things like, I do not think it was racial when talking about the Holocaust. Like she is rewriting history between coffee breaks.
I said that the Holocaust wasn't about race, and it was instead about man's inhumanity to man. But it is indeed about race, because Hitler and the Nazis considered Jews to be an inferior race. Now, words matter, and mine are no exception. I regret my comments, as I said, and I stand corrected. I also stand with the Jewish people, as they know, and y'all know, because I've always done that.
But it doesn't look like her opinion on the matter has changed at all. In fact, this is what she just told a UK newspaper over the weekend, and I quote, "Remember who they were killing first. They were not killing racial, they were killing physical. They were killing people they considered to be mentally defective. And then they made this decision." And like Groundhog Day, we have another Whoopi apology. Here it is. Again, I quote, "It was never my intention to appear as if I was doubling down on hurtful comments. I'm still learning a lot, and believe me, I heard everything everyone said to me. I believe the Holocaust was about race, and I am still as sorry now as I was then that I upset, hurt, and angered people."
Took 2 weeks off after backlash. Came back. Did not really believe the apology. Audience forgave her before the facts could. Prefers applause over evidence. prefers clapping to clarity, says she stands for freedom of speech, but wanted Joe Rogan kicked off Spotify because she did not like the noise. Free speech for friends, silence for strangers. June 2025. Segment on Iran. Protesters risking their lives for freedom. Women shot in the streets. Men disappeared in basements. And Whoopi says America is the same. Not if you are black.
So that's why I said you weren't saying what I heard was not what you meant.
I think it's very different to live in the United States in 2025 than it is to live in Iran.
Not if you're black.
Not for everybody.
Not if you're black.
Guys, don't.
Real oppression never stood a chance. Not when it is fighting applause and egos and soft chairs. Before Whoopi even got to Iran, she was too busy woman-splaining to her own co-host. Audience claps like seals at feeding time. Reality stares at the floor. Compare racial injustice in America to living under Iran's theocratic dictatorship. Moral compass spinning like a broken ceiling fan. Real oppression turned into punchlines for a paycheck. Not evil. Worse. Indifferent. Comfortable in contradiction. Next file. Joy Behar. Been sitting at that desk so long they should name the chair after her. Matriarch of smug. She does not debate. She delivers verdicts. Sarcasm like cheap perfume. Strong enough to cover the rod if you do not breathe too deep. Wants you to believe she is America's conscience. Let us test that. 2022. Ukraine's on fire. Cities bombed. Families running barefoot through rubble. And Joy's upset because she might miss out on pasta.
Well, I'm scared of what's going to happen in Western Europe, too. You plan a trip, you want to go there. I want to go to Italy for 4 years. I haven't been able to make it because of the pandemic, and now this.
Amalfi Coast bookings. That is the real tragedy. Children hiding in basements. Priorities like cracked mirrors. Broken reflections. Pretending they make sense. 2023. East Palestine, Ohio. Train derails. Toxic chemicals in the water. Kids coughing. Pets dying. Joy's take. That's what you get for voting for Trump.
It was time for him to be.
I don't know why they would ever vote for him for somebody who, by the way, he placed someone with deep ties to the chemical industry in charge of the EPA's Chemical Safety Office. That's who you voted for in that district. Donald Trump, who reduces all safety.
Translation. Wrong politics. You deserve poison. Sympathy canceled. Human suffering means nothing. If you vote the wrong way. Moral compass rusted. Sold it for claps.
Right out there with his racism. There's no dog whistle for him, you know. It's like, I'm a racist, have a nice day. You know what I mean? I guess, you know, it's funny, when I was watching this, it's so aggravating to listen to this idiot. I mean, he and I are very different. I'll tell you this right now. If I was surrounded by people carrying weapons, people erecting nooses, screaming, hang Mike Pence, bludgeoning a police officer to death, I might be a little scared. But Ron, no, he's not scared of those people. He's scared of this fictitious idea of Antifa, a thing that doesn't even exist. He needs to go. He needs to go, and soon.
Sunny, what I saw.
2020, Kiss City's burning. Windows smashed. Businesses in ashes. Antifa everywhere. Joy shrugs. Antifa's just an idea. Funny how bricks break real glass. Funny how ideas set neighborhoods on fire. But when it is their side throwing punches, suddenly it is just a passion. Narrative first, property damage later. 2022 again talks about racism like she invented the word, but when black conservatives like Tim Scott speak up, Joy calls them props.
One of these guys who, you know, he's like Clarence Thomas, black Republican who believes in pulling yourself by your bootstraps, rather than, to me, understanding the systemic racism that African Americans face in this country and other minorities. He doesn't get it, neither does Clarence.
Right.
And that's why they're Republicans.
Yeah. I know.
Advocates for black voices, as long as they're reading the right script. Says she fights racism, fights conservatives harder. Truth doesn't matter. Facts are too heavy. Easier to carry applause. Punchlines cheaper than principles. Joy doesn't sell justice. She sells division with a grin. Laugh track running on borrowed time. Not evil, just empty. Like a birthday balloon 2 weeks after the party. Still floating, but nobody cares anymore. Next one pretends to be the intellect. Sunny Hostin. The legal mind. The calm voice. The moral compass of the panel. Or so she wants you to think. Former prosecutor. Full-time lecture circuit. Wears justice like silk gloves. Smooth outside, framed underneath. But the robe's got stains. Narrative stains.
About 31% of Americans trust our healthcare system. We have a terrible healthcare system. And, you know, doctors suffer because of big corporations as well. Doctors that want to do good, like my husband, you know, operates on someone even though they don't have insurance and then has to sue health insurance companies to get paid for the work that he's been trained his whole life to do. So there are a lot of problems with it.
It's December 2024. Husband, Dr. Emmanuel Hostin, slapped into a federal RICO lawsuit. 200 doctors accused of fraud. Kickbacks disguised as dividends.
Emmanuel is one of 200 individuals named in the lawsuit filed on December 17, 2024, and obtained by Page 6. The suit alleges that the doctor, quote, knowingly provided fraudulent medical and other healthcare services.
The smell of corruption under family dinner plates. What Sunny do? Calls it frivolous.
The View co-host and the orthopedic surgeon have hired lawyers Mark Garagos and Daniel Thwaites after Emmanuel was named in one of the largest federal RICO cases ever filed in New York. Garagos threatened legal action to the tune of $5 million against the American Transit Insurance Company, which named Emmanuel and his medical practice in its lawsuit.
Brings in Mark Garagos, threatens a $5 million countersuit unless they retract. The same woman who lectures America about accountability sues for silence. And while she builds her fortress with legal briefs, the mask slips in 4K.
Matt Gaetz has long denied all allegations, calling the claims, quote, invented.
And it turns out that wasn't good enough, so she had to do another one.
Legal note. I have a legal note. Matt Gaetz has long denied all allegations and has not been charged with any crime.
And shockingly, there were still issues, so she had to read another one.
I have a legal note. You want to take this one, Joy, or are you Matt
good?
Gaetz has long denied all allegations and has not been charged with any crime.
The internet has been in hysterics about the bizarre comments. This commentator said, The View's Sunny Hostin has to read 3 different legal notes to cover for their lies about Matt Gaetz and Pete Hegseth this week. The View and its hosts have become a serious liability for the ABC. At some point, it'll be cheaper to fire them and cancel the show, instead of continuing down the road of slandering people they don't like.
November 2024. Discussing Trump's cabinet. Starts firing slander like confetti. Matt Gaetz, Pete Hegseth, George Santos. Producer taps the ear. Sunny freezes. Reads 6 minutes of legal notes. Live. Clarifying. Backpedaling. Suddenly the courtroom confidence melts under studio lights. Same month, said Matt Gaetz trafficked minors. Had to issue a correction that DOJ dropped all charges. Narrative first. Facts stapled on later. Then she tried Pete Hegseth. On live TV. Claimed domestic abuse. Another legal note. Another correction. Another courtroom. On the wrong network. These aren't slip-ups. They're live damage control. Not accidents. Patterns. Lies by instinct. Retractions by obligation. Sunny sells herself as the steady hand. The educated one. But educated doesn't mean honest, and facts don't matter when the mood's right. Law school education in one hand. Legal disclaimers in the other. Sunny isn't evil. Just branded. Unless it's family. Then it's a media smear campaign. Next file. Sara Haines. The moderate fence sitter. Balance sold like diet soda. Less sugar. Still bad for you. Looks calm. Sounds fair. But fair doesn't mean honest. June 2025. Iran segment says Iranian women can't go to school. Can't own property. Can't leave their homes. Wrong. Got Iran mixed up with the Taliban. Millions of educated Iranian women erased in a sentence. Narrative first. Facts on delay. Instagram correction later. Soft words, softer spine. But it wasn't the first time Sarah let comfort override truth.
I really wish they'd get money out of these elections altogether, because you almost argue, yes, we live in a democracy where we each have a vote when it's not being pushed back on, but you have a vote. But the money in these things that decides election is almost like they're up for sale. That's how you decide who's going to win.
But wasn't that Citizens United that
yeah,
did
but
that?
the point is that
Yeah.
you're also asking like Congress to get involved and pass some kind of legislation, but that's like regulating themselves. They want the money there. So it is one of the dirtiest parts of our government is this money.
Elon Musk donates to Trump. Sarah flinches, furrows her brow. But when Kamala rakes in over $1 billion from mega donors and corporate interests, Sarah smiles, says nothing. Different cash, different silence. Bias isn't always loud. Sometimes it just nods along.
I think one thing that really irks me on the left, and I don't really have a lot of faith in the right, so you tend to criticize the people that you line up more, that you care more about, and that would be the Democrats for me. People lost trust in them because the voters were saying there was a concern. There were people across the board saying they had a concern. And the Democrats said, no, over here, look over here. They told the voters what to care about, and they did not listen when the voters said they cared. So these stories come out aren't about beating a dead horse. It's saying if they could have a fair conversation that we heard you, we saw it as they saw it, they'd be gaining some of the voters back to say, okay, we're not going to keep saying that.
This is Sarah's gift. Pleasant packaging, pretty sentences, mistakes cleaned with a smile. Audience forgets, Instagram forgives. Balance isn't truth. It's camouflage. Not evil. Not loud. Not cruel. Just complicit. Next file. Ana Navarro calls herself a Republican the way an ex calls you baby after they've changed the locks. Says she's conservative, but only around brunch. The rest of the time, she's a full-time Democrat with an old GOP business card folded in her wallet.
After much consumption of alcohol, a lot of thought, a lot of questioning of myself, I cast my vote for Hillary Clinton this year.
ABC hired her as balance, diversity of thought, except she doesn't disagree with the others. Not really. Same scripts, same applause, different accent. Biggest talent. Taking complex problems, grinding them down to bumper stickers, then yelling them across the table like a worn-out substitute teacher.
America cannot get numb to the cruelty that is going on and that is being inflicted on the Latino community specifically by the Trump administration. Look, in my view, these people, mostly men, the ones that they've sent to El Salvador are men, are props as part of Donald Trump's sick, cruel charade. He built this narrative that there was this gang that was overtaking America and that he was going to send hardened criminals and rapists, monsters to this, out of the country, get rid of them.
2022. Immigration crisis. Kids in cages. That's Trump's fault. Biden's border failures. It's complicated. Translation. Defend who pays your checks. Facts get in the way of feelings. Says she's balanced. Says she's a Republican. She's not. This plot is contaminated. Decorative ink. Spilled to trick viewers into thinking the page is balanced. All it is stained. Claims principled conservatism, but voted Biden. Again in 2024 for Harris. Republican is just flavor text.
Welcome to the second night of the Democratic National Convention. Let me tell you about the Kamala Harris I know. She is legitimately a joyful, optimistic leader. She cares about policy, yes, but she also cares about people and how that policy affects real people, not just the members of Mar-a-Lago.
Wants to be the adult in the room, but brings high school debate team energy to a 5-alarm fire. Moral compass. Points wherever the host next to her points.
Illegally, you are going home. Simple as that. We do not have unlimited resources.
I think a lot of Americans
to take care of other people.
There's a hell of a lot of people, other than the black people who were brought here as slaves, who came to this country illegally.
They're not the same as black people who were brought here against our will.
That's exactly what I just said. I said there is a lot of people.
than the black people.
There is a big difference.
That's exactly what I just said.
Difference.
That's exactly what I just said, Sir Michael. You can act indignant. That's exactly what I just said.
Let me just share Michael.
Other than the black
Anna and share Michael.
There are a lot of people from many
actually misheard what I think you misheard what she said.
No, he purposely misheard.
She said.
Yes, she did.
So now you're in my
Share
brain?
Michael, listen to me for just a second.
Is that where we're going?
You think I would say I who have advocated for black people my entire life would say something like that?
Anna,
Because you've advocated for black people,
please
great,
stop.
congratulations. Last time I checked, I'm black, you're not.
Okay, Share Michael.
That's right. I'm Latino and my
Simplifies trauma for cable drama. Slavery and illegal immigration. A single breath separates them now. One was shackled, the other crossed willingly. She collapses centuries of chains into a sentence for effect. Not evil, just decorative. ABC needed a pet conservative. They got a chihuahua that barks on command. Next one's a Republican too, but the kind that tries to impress Manhattan at every cocktail party. Alyssa Farah Griffin, the Republican with a Hollywood agent smile, tried to spin loyalty to reps into a mainstream gig, calls herself a conservative but flirts with the left like it's a dance partner. She's the nice girl version of a GOP pundit. Less fire, more sigh, calls out Trump's excesses, but never slams left enough to upset the donors or the fans.
4 years ago today, I was in the White House with Donald Trump on election night. I was there standing next to one of his cabinet officials when Arizona was called for Joe Biden, and when it became increasingly clear that he was going to lose. And I believed he deserved to lose that night. At that point, I thought he hadn't fought to win the election. But I thought the next 4 years would be the Republican Party rebuilding and becoming something I could believe in and turning the page on Donald Trump. And it didn't do that. So this weekend, on Saturday, for the first time in my life, I voted for a Democrat.
Career built on walking the tightrope between truth and public opinion. After January 6th, Griffin distanced herself from Trump's big lie, calling it a cancer in the party, but still supports many Republican policies, creating a brand of Republican light that sells well to mainstream media. On The View and other panels, she often softens her stance on GOP hardliners, framing them as misunderstood rather than dangerous. Deflects accountability with phrases like "we need unity" and "let's move forward."
Because I'm not speaking as a pundit or an analyst, but I'm speaking as a former senior aide to Donald Trump, who knows him very well, spent a lot of time with him. This is the most important election of our lifetimes because he is the most dangerous man to have ever sat in the American presidency. He cannot go back. And we've never been in this moment before.
Calls herself a Republican, but spends more time calling Trump the most dangerous man in America than defending her own party. Narrative first.
We're going to find there are a lot of things Donald Trump does that I agree with, but then there are things I think are dangerous, reckless, and want to call out. So you have to be able to talk to people who, it doesn't have to be all this or all that, but find movement on the things that matter.
It's hard to talk to people who support people who think you don't matter in the country.
But it's not supporting the person, though.
This blot isn't just contaminated, it's purple, bruised, caught between red and blue, smeared with the lies of a party, divided, and a truth half told. Her brand? The Republican who wants applause without the fights, a political diplomat in a world that demands warriors. The ink on this blot's faded, uncertain and diluted. Not evil, just cautious, too afraid to stain the page with real concern. The View isn't news, it's noise, dipped in applause, wrapped in bias, sold as truth. They don't debate, they declare. Don't ask what's real, just clap on cue. Every host a headline, every fact a prop. This isn't a panel, it's a production. Ink doesn't lie, people do. Inkblot narrative, where the stain clears the clouded view.